Well, in the episode of Birthday Wheel where Penny says, did she just say apple? Where Penny says, hey guys, in the just like when Penny says, hey guys, then Zoe says, what's wrong, Penny Link? You want us to change the music? Where Penny Link says, no, Daisy has never had a birthday cake before. Where Zoe says, what? Why? Where Penny says, well, I don't know. She never had a birthday cake before because the sneaky squirrel always gets it. Where Zoe says, oh, now I get it. Where Zoe says, wait, no it doesn't. What's a sneaky squirrel? Where Penny says, this is the sneaky squirrel. And the just like Penny says, this is the sneaky squirrel. Where Penny says, every day on Daisyl's birthday, the sneaky squirrel come out of his foxhole from Raspberry Hill. And she took Daisyl's cake, and then she goes back to his foxhole, where Zoe says, and then what? And then what? And then what? Where Penny says, and then she eats it. The whole thing? Where Zoe says, the whole thing? And the just like that when Zoe says, the whole thing? And then Penny said, the whole thing? Then Zoe said, wow, I didn't know squirrels could take cakes. Where Zoe says, well, I don't understand. I don't know why she's never taken my cake. Where Molly Pool says, or my cake. Where Spike says, or my cake. Then Flex says, or my cake. Then Penny Link says, or mine either. Where Penny says, Spike, Molly, Flex, can I go with you to get that cake? Where Molly says, sure, Penny, you'll come with us. Where Molly says, Zoe, you stay here with Daisy. Where Zoe says, okay. Where Zoe says, you can go along now. Where Zoe says, oh, and one thing. Where Zoe says, be careful. Where Penny Link says, why do we have to be careful? Where Zoe says, I just want to remind you, watch out for the sneaky squirrel. Where Penny says, okay. Where Penny says, Zoe's right. We had to watch out for the sneaky squirrel. Where Penny says, if we're not careful, she might snatch Daisy's birthday cake. Where Penny says, hey, there's a birthday cake right there. Where Penny says, any sign of the sneaky squirrel? Where Molly Pool says, no, I don't see her. In the